This is the inaugural meeting of the new Board of Trustees of the Union Bay Improvement District. This meeting is convened pursuant to the Union Bay meeting procedures bylaw. Just a reminder that when we get into the meeting, any remarks, please go through the chair, direct those to the chair. I will be the interim pro tem chair to start, and once we go through the swearing in of the new trustees and go through the election of the new chair, I'll turn over the meeting to the new chair. So just a reminder, all discussion should procedurally go through the chair, and that when we get to motions, all motions do require a mover and a second. Okay? Just a couple of introductory remarks. At this meeting, there's several principal purposes of this inaugural meeting. Principally, it's to swear in the new trustees, to administer the oath of office. We'll do that individually. Then to elect a chair of the board from among its members. Then to, once a new chair is elected, I would turn it over to the new chair. Then typically what you folks do is you appoint your select standing committees. Now last year we appointed just the chairs of those two select standing committees, Public Works and the Fire Department. I mean, if you already have the composition in mind of not only a chair, but also other trustees or members of the public or staff, you could make those appointments at this time. But I'm assuming perhaps you haven't got that far at this stage, so it would just be to appoint the chairs of the select standing committees. Authorize, my understanding is that any authorization of new signing authorities, that was done previously, so we don't have to do that. Then to basically present the 2019-2020 Board of Trustee meeting schedule, which would include dates for the proposed referendum. But before we do that, I know that there's an item on the agenda, a review and a discussion of the governance study. And a review of the Working Committee's meeting, which was held on Wednesday, September 16th. I have also read the governance report. I read it over the weekend. I'm perfectly prepared and willing to offer my comments as sort of an observer. I have a number of, I wouldn't say concerns, but I have a number of comments. And many of those, I'm assuming you folks have already addressed, but I'll just raise those. And then there is an opportunity, I'm assuming, at the end of this agenda for any questions from the public, but that's a bit of a moot point at this point in time. So that's basically what we're here to do at this point in time. I understand, Trustee Monroe, that there was an item that new questions should perhaps be added, and that's approval, or to go in camera and to approve the recently finalized collective agreement. Is that correct?
It's basically to authorize signing of the collective agreement.
So you would...
so it has to be in camera?
It should be, so that discussions of the nature of that can be had prior to that agreement being made public. That agreement is not public until it's signed and ratified.
Yeah, so there should be a motion at the appropriate time to go in camera to discuss that, and then if basically the provisions are acceptable, a motion to authorize that particular settlement and then rise and report in an open meeting. So first item of business would be a motion, which I'll need from the board, to appoint myself as the pro tem, the temporary corporate administration officer for the purposes of both temporarily chairing the meeting and administering the oath of office.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Oaths of office. So congratulations to the new trustees, Eco Dro, John France, and Susanna Kilcher. Susanna, you're familiar with this process, I think. There is an oath of office, which I would ask that you read, and then read aloud the oath, sign and date the oath. Ordinarily, I would come probably and stand over you, but in this environment, if you would read the oath individually, we'll start with Eve, and sign and date that. And also, we have dropped on your table for those new trustees the trustee commencement form, which I understand is nothing more than really, and you may already have this information, but if you could just complete that, it's compulsory information in terms of contact information, things like that. So firstly, Eco Dro, congratulations, and can I get you to read the oath, please?
I, Eco Dro, having been elected to the position of trustee for the Union Bay Improvement District, do hereby swear and affirm that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially, to the best of my knowledge and ability, execute the powers, duties, and functions of my office. As a trustee, and by virtue of my office, I understand that I will be entrusted with confidential information concerning the affairs of the Improvement District. I also understand that I am obligated to maintain such information in confidence and not to use it for personal gain or advantage. I accept that as a trustee, I am obligated to duties of good faith, loyalty, and honesty to the Improvement District, and I am obligated to act in the best interest of the Improvement District at all times. I have read and agreed to comply with all Improvement District bylaws, policies, and directives.
And you do so swear?
And I do so swear.
If you could just sign that and date it.
Okay.
Thank you. And I will collect those and witness them and date them, and give them back to you, Janice. Congratulations. John.
Yeah, hi. I, John France, having been elected to the position of trustee for the Union Bay Improvement District, do hereby swear and affirm that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially, to the best of my knowledge and ability, execute the powers, duties, and functions of my office. As a trustee and by virtue of my office, I understand that I will be entrusted with confidential information concerning the affairs of the Improvement District. I also understand that I am obligated to maintain such information in confidence and not to use it for personal gain or advantage. I accept that as a trustee, I am obligated to duties of good faith, loyalty, and honesty to the Improvement District, and I am obligated to act in the best interests of the Improvement District at all times. I have read and agree to comply with all Improvement District bylaws, policies, and directives.
You do so swear?
I do so swear.
If you would kindly sign and date it, and I will collect that. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Trustee Kelcher?
I, Susanna Kilcher, having been elected to the position of trustee for the Union Bay Improvement District, do hereby swear and affirm that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially, to the best of my knowledge and ability, execute the powers, duties, and functions of my office. As a trustee and by virtue of my office, I understand that I will be entrusted with confidential information concerning the affairs of the Improvement District. I also understand that I am obligated to maintain such information in confidence and not to use it for personal gain or advantage. I accept that as a trustee, I am obligated to the duties of good faith, loyalty, and honesty to the Improvement District, as I am obligated to act in the best interests of the Improvement District at all times. I have read and agreed to comply with all Improvement District bylaws, policies, and directives.
You do so swear?
I do so swear.
Congratulations. If you would sign and date the oath, please. And just a reminder to the three of you to also complete that trustee commencement form. And I'll collect that as well, please. Okay, item number C, the appointment of the board chair. So there's a couple of ways to do this. One option is to simply entertain a motion, which would have to be moved and seconded to appoint one particular individual as the new chair. And then that motion's on the floor, would be voted on. The other alternative is to, I would call for nominations. It doesn't need a seconder. I would record the nominations, and then there would be a vote, either by a show of hands, all those in favor of trustee so-and-so, or alternatively, we could do some sort of a secret ballot, and then whatever the outcome of that voting process would be, the ballot, there would eventually have to be a motion to move and seconded that trustee be appointed as the new chair. So is there a motion?
I move to appoint trustee Ian Monroe to chair.
So there's a mover,
I second that motion.
move and seconded to appoint trustee Monroe as the new chair of the newly constituted board. And are there any amendments to the motion, or are we prepared to vote on that?
Does he have to give a speech?
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous. None opposed, it's unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian.
Trustee Monroe is now the new chair of the newly constituted board. So Trustee Monroe, I'll turn over the meeting to you to assume the chair, if that's fine. And the next item of business would be the establishment of the, and this is something that has to be done through the letters patent, I believe it makes reference to that. My understanding is you have two select standing committees, Public Works and Fire. Last year there was a motion simply to appoint the chair of each of those committees. But again, if you have had previous discussions and have the full committee in mind, we would need a motion to name those individuals to the select standing committee. So Public Works first.
Can I ask a question on this part? I'm curious. My local government background, we very rarely had standing committees. We usually had a full committee of council and committee of the board. What I'm curious about is we're a small improvement district, so I'm curious why we actually need a standing committee. Why wouldn't it be a committee of the whole board dealing with the issues that are important to the board? Why would we farm that out to somebody else? Now, I do know one of the answers is you get to bring others to the community. We can do that anyway. So I'm kind of puzzled. Why are we standing committees?
I will defer the answer to that to Gary, because I believe it is required in the knowledge path that we have these, and that's the correct answer.
I'm not sure it's specific to Public Works and Fire, but it makes total sense in the sense that those are two major services that are provided by and through the improvement district, and it's very common for councils, regional boards to have standing committees, a finance standing committee, a public works, planning, or what have you. So this is entirely in keeping with usual practice.
Trustee Collier.
Just to put it into historical perspective, ever since I've been elected October 2016, we've gone through this and appointed simply the chair, and literally there has been not a single meeting of either committee for the entire 4 years. So I do recall though, and Ian, I believe, and Ted, you'll remember, at the last board meeting, the fire chief did bring forward the idea of the fire committee forming an actual committee to write up the proposal for the proposed engine. Am I correct on that?
And I think we had phrased that not as a standing committee, but as a special committee for that
Right.
particular purpose of recommending a fire manager.
So I also question the need for a standing committee too.
Trustee France.
That formally. Thank you for that, because I didn't realize that maybe you just don't use them. My concern is that I want the whole board to be informed, which I'm sure you all do. And I just don't like the idea of farming out major decisions to another group that gets to go through all the detail and we get the summary. That's my worry.
Okay. And based on that comment, I would ask the board, do you want me to address you as trustee's last name, or do you want me to say Ted? Or first name?
I would want Ted Simpler. Mr. Chair, regarding standing.
Then it's again, if we're going to hear it, I'm going to repeat.
Mr. Chair, regarding standing committees, the last time it was done, Rick took on one and I took on the other. When it came to anything regarding public works or the fire department, if there was anything that was said to us, it was brought forward to the board so that the board knew exactly what the problems were, if there were any problems. It was basically Tuesday night, I go down to the fire hall and talk with the fire chief, with other individuals, and basically ask them questions about what they were concerned about. If there were things that they were concerned about, it was brought forward to the board, and then it was sat down and discussed by the board to decide which direction to go. It was the same with Rick when it came to the water. Again, we had a CAO that was highly involved at that time regarding the building of this project from beginning to end. He shouldered a lot of that, and between engineers, between permits, between builders, etc. So a lot of that was done by the CAO, and we would get bits and pieces of what was going on as progress was going on. Again, now that that process is done and that plan is in operation, my feeling is that one trustee should basically be in tune and in touch as part of the standing committee towards the water treatment plant, and one other trustee regarding the fire hall and its future. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Trustee Goodrich, do you have anything to add to this before I go to?
Well, I guess I could say my experience when I was a trustee for 3 years, that was, to my knowledge, the last time we had working committees in public works and fire. And one trustee would be the chair, and the administrator came, took notes. We had minutes for every meeting. They were present, and any board member could come. And we had expertise from the community on each subject as part of the committee. And we would present reports and be responsible for that portfolio. And as far as communicating directly with the public works and the fire department. So it worked quite well, and we had hydrologists from the community on the committee, and ex-firefighters, and it worked really well. So I think it was a good idea, and especially to have public involvement, which we've been lacking for the last 6 years or whatever it's been, I don't know. So that's all.
John, you have something?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds, I guess. Excuse me. I'm not from one of the things I want to do is get more familiar with what's happened in the past and then moving forward, do what this board thinks is the proper thing to do. Look, I'm happy if there is a major decision and the reports that come out of the select committee are good detail. And we can ask questions from there. I'm happy, and I think I'm seeing now monthly reports on water and fire. If there's any issues, they're coming forward. Staff are notating the issues that they're encountering and asking for more direction. If that's what's required. I'm happy with that. And I think getting into a regular regime of getting staff reports probably will solve a lot of the issues. I just want open, transparent.
I'm sorry. It might reassure you to know that as a board, we have received those monthly reports. They have, and I thought they were being posted publicly online. There seems to be a bit of a disconnect around that. But the intention is that both the Public Works report and the fire report is posted along with the minutes online, including we're trying to speed it up, correct me if I'm wrong, by putting draft minutes up instead of waiting a whole month. We're really trying. But I wanted to touch on a point that, so Trustee Eve described a working committee, and Trustee Harrelson described a kind of touch base situation. And I just really want to caution all of us, we're now again a new board, that I remember very clearly Alison Happer doing the first training, and that was before you came, Trustee Harrelson. And the first thing out of her mouth was, trustees, no matter how well intended, should not be showing up on site, whether it is a board off, whether it's the office, whether it's the water treatment plant, because it puts the staff in an awkward position for obvious reasons. And that the go-between, really, between the board and the staff is the administrator, which of course is what Ted was describing with his role regarding the water treatment plant. But kind of, if we do go with the public two standing committees, I want it to be a formalized working committee, not an ad hoc drop-in, check-in, see how things are kind of situation is on, and cautioning that because of what I remember so clearly Allison saying, and there was pushback at the time to her saying that because we're a small town, this is how we've done it, it's a friendly kind of, but she said, I get all that and it's well intended, but it is a slippery slope. So thank you for hearing me out on that.
Mr. Chair, just a couple of comments. Just check the Local Government Act, and it's not required, it's not obligatory that you have to appoint standing committees. An improvement district may establish standing committees for matters that the board considers would be better dealt with by committee, and may appoint persons to those committees. So that's point one. It's a may, not shall must. Second point, I do agree with you about if you're going to go down that road, I think they should be formalized, and there should be a chair, and you also may appoint individuals to this standing committee who are not trustees. But I do agree that if you're going to go down this road, and maybe this isn't a decision that has to be taken at this meeting, they should be formalized with a chair, and there should be a motion to appoint the chair and then any other individuals, whether it's the fire chief or the public works superintendent, to those committees.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a comment.
Yes, two things. Two things. I agree with Suzanne, sorry. I agree with Suzanne, Trustee Susanna's comments, and I also agree with Gary's comments. Sorry, Administrator, Consultant Gary. I think we could probably wait, if we can, a minute or two, just so we can get our feet wet a little bit more, but whatever. I'm okay with the price framing. Just as a point back about something else that was said, it's a trick question. How many employees do we have? How many employees report to this board?
This is a good question.
It's a trick question that relates directly to what Susanna said.
One administrator.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So we don't go running off to the public works director or the fire chief. To me, it's okay to have a chat with them. That's fine, but you're not giving direction or anything like that. She gets the pleasure of our company.
And the way that, in my view, the way that works is in meetings like this where she attends, Janice will attend at these meetings and listen to questions and provide information, answer questions, those sorts of things. And on a day-to-day basis, the relationship between the board and the administration is via the chair. Just to make sure that there's no confusion of direction in that.
Sorry, Frank, that doesn't mean we can't ask questions, right? We just can't direct it.
Correct. Like, ask her questions, and if you're speaking within this forum or through email or those sorts of things.
The question can't be, why haven't you plowed next street, or why haven't you, sorry, I'm being facetious, you know what I mean, we can't give direction.
So I move that we postpone the establishment of the select standing committees until we have our feet on the ground. Till
May I suggest just putting it off for a month, and then we can, in other words, get staff to bring it back, and then we can decide then if we want to. That way it's on the agenda when you want to see it on the agenda.
I move to postpone the select standing committee decision until the next meeting.
Any second to that motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion, further discussion about it?
Yes. Chairman Ian, the only thing I have to say is because of our circumstances in the past, our CEO having problems getting along with the staff and a number of other things, that ended up that he wasn't coming to our meetings for quite a number of months, made it very difficult for the board to be able to.
Let's keep any references to personnel issues.
Yeah, I'm just saying it made it difficult for the board at the particular time to be able to function. Since that time, happy to say, the fire department and public works are now coming to our board meetings and turning around and giving us reports that are very thorough and are very helpful. That's made a big difference. And basically, I agree, put this off for a month, we can sit down and clarify exactly what we wish to do. But it has made a big difference because we do have people that are coming in and making the reports, which had not been going on for a very long time, prior to me even. So that's basically all I can add to it that you may not know.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion, questions, amendments? All in favor? Okay, so we will postpone the decision on standing committees until next week.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item on the agenda is, item number F on the agenda is the statutory requirement at the inaugural meeting that you approve a schedule of upcoming meetings for the next ensuing year. In this particular case, it has dates, proposed dates for advanced polls and a referendum. I do think it makes sense perhaps to just hold off that item and discuss item E first, which is a review of the governance study working committee meeting on Wednesday, because that's very germane to the issue of the dates and the timing of the advanced polls and the referendum. So my advice would be to proceed with item number E at this point in time and have a discussion about the governance study.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. So there was 3 of us who were in attendance at the governance study working committee meeting on Monday morning. And that was Susanna and Janice and myself. How do we want to start that? Do you want to start?
And Danny.
That's true. Dan Gill was also there because there were questions, very technical questions around the capacity of the water plant and how that was addressed within the report, and which was resolved to everybody's satisfaction. Essentially, I'll sum it up quite a bit, and you guys can color in where you think it is required. But it was really to say, okay, so we are at a final draft. And what that meant is it's presented to the public and now needs to be, there has to be public consultation around the report, and that further input can be gathered as a result of those consultations, and then the report will again be modified based on that set of input, and a final report would then be issued after that. And so, all of that has to happen, and then that gets distributed again at the board and all those sorts of things. And then, so there's a schedule that's been set around that. And I'll come back to those two things. And then the next thing that would happen after that would then have to be a vote. It has to be, according to the ministry, a strong display of public support for a certain direction, preferably a referendum. That would be really how the ministry would phrase it. At this time, we've been through, and we've discussed this at the meeting, that we've been through an election planning. We know how to do an election in these, with the public health issues at hand. Provided that those don't swing wildly in the wrong direction, we still feel confident we know how to do that. So that referendum would then be scheduled, and after the results of the referendum would be known, then the board would then vote as to their recommendation as to how to proceed. So it takes both, that we need the public support and then the board to say, this is what we want to do. And the board could disagree with the public, but there have to be pretty good reasons why that would happen. That's basically the way the ministry had phrased it. Right? So based on timing, it sounds like the report would be put out there. We need some planning time. I don't actually recall why we needed to wait as long as the 15th. I think it's because the report is being revised one more time based on the inputs of the last meeting. And that we would have a virtual open house, so they're not in person. Encourage as many people as possible to go in that direction so as to minimize crowds gathering. And that would happen on October 15th. And then there would be a series of 3, I believe, in-person open houses on October the 20th, where there would be advanced registration limited to approximately 20 people each time, whatever the hall can hold, beyond the number of people that are needed from CBRD, from UBID, and from Urban Systems, the consultant that prepared this report. And the purpose would be to present the information, answer questions again, get input, and to do that 3 times so that we can get as many people as possible through. So that's what I recall from the meeting. Susanna, has anything to add to that? We could talk about Dan's input too, but I think that's just his report.
So in addition, it was advised and well advised that, we with regards to the referendum, to make sure that it is, of course, it's a given that will be following the guidelines. And we had a little bit more confidence in that because we had already done the preparation for the election. So, however, it was timely that if you look at the schedule, there's a million dates because we're trying to tee in with the consulting firm, the government, and the CBRD, and our own local government. So, I think they were very wise in, so tentatively, the referendum, pending a motion to do that, is going to be on Saturday, November 28th. But there will be 2 advance polls, Tuesday, November 10th, and Tuesday, November 17th. And it's really going the extra mile to ensure that landowners are given accurate, factual information that they can absorb, that they have a chance to ask questions. There will be a frequently asked questions which will be updated on a daily basis on both the CBRD website and the UBID website. What's a bit of a relief, I'm sure, to Janice, is that the CBRD and Urban Systems is managing and paying for all of the virtual information session as well as those 3 in-person sessions. That was part of the grant money. Thank goodness, because it's a huge job. And so we, Union Bay, will be responsible for the referendum, which we are quite confident in being able to do. So it was a hugely, and the tweaks to the final, to the report are fairly minor. We worked through, and I do hope that Danny will clarify that at the board meeting. There was a question around a phrasing in his report about capacity of water, and it was a reference to Langley Lake as opposed to the water treatment plant. So we did get that straightened out, cleared up, and I think we should clear it up for the landowners too. So essentially the report is, as the original, the draft is posted online now. So there are some minor changes, but I would not call it substantive changes. Yeah. So I'm feeling I'm amazed at the work that's gone into this process. Pulling together Zoom calls of 3 different governments, and 7 to 9 people. I guess that's the way it is.
Janice, do you have anything to add?
You'll notice you got your agendas very late today. So after the meeting, I spoke to Peter Crawford in terms of trying to schedule a referendum for the 14th. And we worked backwards because we have an election policy. And after that, I spoke to Dan this morning from Urban Systems, and he said no way he could get the report ready so you could have your referendum on the 14th. So that's why it got pushed to the 28th. And he said he initially thought it would be sometime in December. So he felt even November 28th was pretty aggressive. So that's what you've got now as a result of working with Peter and with Dan to get the dates that would work. So this looks workable.
The other thing that I was reminded of as we talked with that, and we'll ask you, open up for questions, is that there are a number of people in our community that are being compromised, and the idea of coming out and voting is challenging. And the idea of doing mail-in ballots is probably more challenging in terms of trying to make all of that work in the timeline that we have. So a part of the election preparation that was done was the ability for people not to have to enter the hall. Janice, you could probably describe this better, but indeed have the chief election officer go out and take their ballot in their car. So that it can really...
He's fully prepared for that.
Yeah.
And he actually did do that last time, like however many elections ago. He did that when people could not physically get in. He would take the vote at their car.
So I think one of the things we were talking about was whether we should, in the next cycle of utility bills, which is next week, there's going to be the newsletter number 3 about the government study. There's going to be my landowners update. But there's also the possibility of us putting in a one-pager about the process here forward, right? And to assure people about the public health things that are going on. And so we may want to decide whether that in fact is a good idea to spell out, these are the key dates, here's how it's going to be done, here's how we will protect your health if you're compromised.
I move we do, so moved. Do you need a motion for that? I agree with that.
Well, if we don't like holding on, let's ask all the questions and bring it all together, but I agree, let's hold that and do that motion, but just to see if there's any other questions might modify.
Are these about the dates now, or are we still on the conversion?
We're still on the conversion.
Right. I'll be quiet.
So let's turn it over to the other trustees and see, okay, that's the update, what questions have that spawned for you?
Chair, I agree that to be able to have people come and vote from their vehicles is a very good idea because, again, with this COVID situation that we have, and if their immune systems are compromised, that's the last thing I want to hear is that people ended up getting ill. So if they can turn around and vote in that way and that means, I think we should put a piece of paper in the water bill stating that they should be able to call the office and request that this be done for them, so that they're not left out when it comes time to make a decision. I agree.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? John?
I'm a little puzzled. I'm not sure where we're at. I'm looking for some sort of input process into this draft of the conversion study. Final means to me that it is still changeable. And moving forward, if we're the ones responsible for it, then we're going to own that conversion study. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying I have concerns about it. I don't know if anybody else does, but I do have some concerns, and I would certainly like to see some amendments made.
Okay. So is the question, what's the process for that to happen?
Yes.
As far as I understand it, and I'll turn it back to anybody else that might comment, right? The final draft means from the working committee to the public. And I believe that anybody's input from here on in can be considered in terms of amending the draft report into the final report. So my personal belief, and we can confirm it for you, is that if you have inputs, that they can be sent into urban systems to be considered by the consultants that have put this together, and then to propose that as part of the final report.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
And that's kind of one of the issues that I've got, because we don't get a chance to do anything to it before it comes to the public. And that's what I have a concern about. I won't get into my past history, but it just seems to me that we should be able to have a say. I don't know, did the regional district board have a chance to see it and make changes, or is it all committee at this point?
I believe it's all committee at this point. And I think for fairness of the process, right, it did go to the previous board had discussed it. The previous board appointed members of that working committee, and there was updates done on a regular basis, pretty much monthly if there was a meeting. So that, because we have constituted a new board, I'm not sure that's cause to change the process, if you will.
Okay. You just told me that the last board had a chance to input into the working draft.
Yes.
That's great to hear. This is a new board, and I've got I have concerns that, again, going forward, this project study is ours now, and I basically have absolutely no input into it. After it goes public, that doesn't make me feel much better. Because I think there's a number of things in there that could be made, in my opinion, better. Whether there's any money to do it, I don't know. But I do know one thing, and I've read it twice so far, and I probably want to read it again to really start to solidify some of the issues that I've got with it. And I can give you a few of them. Would you like a few of them?
Not to be fractious, but I think what's more a point here is to stay with the process that we're talking about, right? Like, so I guess my question back to you would be, what would you like to see, if you were to make a motion, or you were to put a question on the table, what is that you want to have?
Okay, so I have to be a little bit cautious here, because that's the reason why I asked about the Comox Valley RD. If we got permission to put information in now before it went to the public, would that have to happen with the RD board as well?
Well, I don't know the answer. Like, we as trustees were all interviewed as a part of the information gathering process to prepare the report, the trustees of the past board. And so that's how that information was gathered. There were members of the CBRD board who were also interviewed and staff, and our staff was interviewed as well. So that's how information was gathered, right? So I think that process is executed, and I'm still concerned to understand what it is you want to have happen differently. Do you want to reopen that process?
Okay, so I guess I'll put it forward that before it goes public, this board gets to comment on the draft and ask for changes if they so choose.
The draft is public already. It's published on both our website and the
You're right.
city's website.
So,
It is published as a draft, though.
Yes, I think that because the process happened under a previous board and we are now in information gathering mode, like here is the draft from the working committee. What inputs do you want? I still think the ability to make inputs is possible.
Can I
Right.
speak to that?
Yes.
So I was talking to Dan Wayne with Urban Systems this morning, and that was part of what we were talking about with the timelines, is after the virtual information session and the in-person, they will take that information from those meetings and update the conversion study.
That's, thank you, that's essentially what I'm trying to say. You said it very well.
thanks for that. I'm somewhat okay with that, and the reason why I say somewhat, what happens if we have a major thing that we find is an issue, and as a board we all agree it's an issue? Will the report be changed?
I think, I don't actually know the answer because it is a three-party working committee, right? I can't imagine though that if our board brought a major issue to the working committee and said, we're uncomfortable with this report as is and may not be able to move this process forward unless this is addressed, that it wouldn't get addressed.
Okay, may I respond to that then? I'm happy then if we have a discussion and as a board decide what's major and what's not. In other words, if I bring an issue forward and everybody says, no, we don't think that's, I'm happy with that. I think it's the airing that I want, not just the agreement.
So how would you like to proceed?
What I'd like to see us do, and it doesn't have to happen today, is basically to go through the report as a group and see what we think. I mean, I got some, when I say hi, I mean, some kind of overview comments, but some of them are kind of specific to parts of the report that I think could do some major improvement. But I think when it gets out of the public, sorry, out of the public, thank you, of course you're going to realize that. I'd be very surprised if they're not asking the questions.
So I think what I hear you saying is, can we put this on the agenda of our next meeting, the CAL meeting, to discuss whatever issues trustees may have? We can communicate them before that so that they're ready to be discussed, like have a package prepared? Or do you want to do something different?
Okay, so I'll suggest a motion. Thank you. I'm usually for Janet's sake, so formulating resolutions. What? That's all about it. I would like to have probably a special meeting that we sit down and just discuss this report. And if anything comes out of it, great. If nothing comes out of it, that's fine too. But I think us having that discussion, for me, would make me feel a lot more comfortable with this report going forward.
Okay.
I don't know if the public's going to point to us and say, you're the guys that put this thing forward. I don't think they'll do that. But I just want to be fully happy, even on issues that I may not fully agree with, but I'm happy I understand the logic behind it and I can move on. So my resolution would be that we have a meeting, and I'm sorry to say that the agenda creates a bit of a problem for me. Sorry, the meeting agenda keeps a little bit of a problem for me. I'm working with Sabre Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for the next 4 months.
Are you talking about the schedule?
Yeah, the schedule.
Okay, we're not on the schedule yet?
I understand that, but it causes a problem when you say that the committee of the whole next meeting, that's actually on a Tuesday. Is it not? Then I'm not here.
So can we hold, there are some other questions about the actual schedule.
Okay, so scheduling is an issue. So there's a motion on the floor that says we hold a special meeting to discuss any outstanding issues that may be raised by any trustee
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Well, I just wanted to, that I kind of understand what John's talking about because I'm new on this board and I'm going to be kind of sort of, it could be seen as being a party to this agreement and I have no part in it whatsoever. Yeah, there's a point there.
Okay, so
I think it's
this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Trustee
Trustee Harrelson, anything to add?
First of all, if the trustee is going to be in Savory, we have to pick a date that's going to be suitable for you to be here to bring your comments forward. October the 13th is a no good day for you. So,
I don't think we're talking about the schedule yet.
well, the thing is, nothing's going to happen unless,
I think just in general,
in
with
general, we have to find out when a good day is so that we can set the meeting.
So let's make sure we address that as part of our scheduling.
Right.
so are you in favor of,
Well, we're not voting right now, right? So it's just fine.
So my comment is that we have to try to accommodate Trustee France because of his situation. I haven't got a problem with that if it's going to make our board whole during this discussion, which is important.
so I also have, sorry, are you done?
But,
I have no problem with having a meeting to discuss the study. I would prefer it not be a separate, like, that it be in lieu of the 13th, the Tuesday. Like, I don't want another meeting. There's a lot of meetings here. So,
May I add a date to that resolution?
Sure.
September 24th, a week from today?
Okay, so the resolution is that, the suggested motion is that we hold a special meeting to discuss the government study and any questions that may arise from it on September 24th at 2:30 p.m.
not,
Chair, I'm sorry, I'll be on to it.
not being prior to invited.
We're coming in harvest and I have to do that in the farming store.
Okay, so that was,
Could we have it sooner?
yeah.
You want to have it sooner?
Much sooner.
Okay, sorry, Lynn. I'm there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I'm here until next Monday. So if you want to have the next 4 days, I'm okay.
You and me.
Janice,
Could you not reschedule it to 7 p.m.?
what's that?
Any special meeting on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
So, can I suggest that we divide this motion from date? Because the date is the thing that's causing the problem. Let's agree we want to have a special meeting and not add a date to this motion. And then let's resolve, and let's say that is a special meeting that needs to be fit into our schedule. Are we okay with that? So that we can decide on whether we're doing a special meeting? Okay, so the motion being the original, which is schedule a special meeting to discuss the governance study and questions that may arise from board members as soon as possible. Second. You second that motion. All in favor? Okay. So we've moved past anything else on governance study that we need to talk about before we...
When I was talking to Dan this morning, I was trying to get clear who's responsible for what. And they are responsible for the virtual information session, but they're going to offer it by Zoom. So that is a bit of a concern for people who don't have Zoom on their computer. If it's offered the way we offered the AGM, that was YouTube. You could view it on YouTube, you could view it on your TV. So that could cause a problem for people who do not have Zoom on their computers.
Did you ask if they could use the,
I did not, because he said this after we had our discussion.
could you ask that?
Let's direct the conversation to the board. I couldn't hear you say.
I was wondering if she asked whether the YouTube was an option.
So, I guess I'd like to know if you want to insist that it's done, offered through YouTube, or is Zoom adequate?
So, here's just my opinion. Sorry, you want to say something?
So the YouTube has a function like Zoom that people can participate?
It does it the same way, right? YouTube allows for comments
It does.
and chat, right? But it doesn't allow for voice. So that if you are, it's not like you can kind of hit your unmute button and ask a question.
Okay, so you can't do that on YouTube.
I do not believe you can. Like, the only capability we had at the AGM was a text question.
So, sorry, silly tech question. Why would they not be able to do Zoom, but would be able to do YouTube?
I'm uncertain about that as well.
Because you need to download Zoom on your computer, and that's a process, but YouTube, you just simply Google YouTube and it comes
It's
up.
on the browser. Okay, got it.
And I have offered Zoom meetings with other organizations, and some people struggle greatly.
It's also a bit of a security risk at times, so that they've been, Zoom bombing is an issue now, right? Where people have held meetings in forums like ours and had them hacked and pornography presented on the screens and all kinds of things. So, I think there is some issue to it, right? But I don't know if we need to decide Zoom or YouTube here. I'm happy for our administration to take this back and say, look, here's some concerns, right? How do we do this in a way that protects the security of people and also makes it as simple as possible for less tech-savvy landowners to access it? Are we good there? Okay. So anything else on governance study? Okay, should we move on to schedule?
Sorry, that was setting a date for this meeting. Okay, good. Thank you.
Schedule or? All right, so the schedule as presented here, everybody can look at it. It includes both regular meetings and polling information and open house information for the governance study. It was established on the basis of the rhythm that we've been using on the past board, which was Tuesday afternoons for a COW meeting and Thursday afternoons for the board meeting. We had attempted to put 9 days in between to make it easier on the administration to get a package together after the COW meeting, because there's certain, I forget exactly what the time parameter is, 4 days or something like that, that must be given for the packages to be out, and to do that with a weekend in between was very difficult, so we tried to give admin more time to do that. That said, if we are going to have issues with trustees who are away, and I was that guy last time that asked it to be moved off Thursday mornings. So I think we need to respect it and try to find a schedule that works for all trustees. And I don't think we need to say it's 9 days, but I think we need to respect administration's need for time to prepare things as well. All right, so I open it up for discussion as to, first question being, what's the rhythm of our regular meetings? Tuesday, Thursday, 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 Tuesday, Tuesday, Friday, Friday, whatever it is, right? Let's talk about what serves the board the best. Suzanne.
I also noted that what is missing here is the addition of opening nominations and closing nominations.
We missed that.
Yeah, so.
And Peter was gone by this point, so I thought I need to get this out to
I'm
you
just saying
guys.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just noted that. And,
Yes.
I also want to put out there, because it will form part of the conversation around dates that work for trustees. I know that the December board meeting is not going to work. It's a week right before Christmas. So I was going to ask specifically regarding December that we move it by 1 week ahead, and then also the COW meeting 1 week ahead, just to make sure that all trustees are present. So that's all I want to say. I'm open to looking at different meeting days. What would work for you, John? It would be Thursdays?
If I may. I think I've got probably 4 months in the same word, so I'm sorry I got October, November, December. I don't think they could have had it much past December. Having said that, my being there is conditional on them being a chief administrative officer. We haven't been successful for 6 months. So sorry, I know that I'm there for 3 months and after that. So I'm available Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sorry. I'm available. Oh, here go myself. Thursdays and Fridays.
Any other inputs before we try to put this puzzle together? So a possibility here is that we pick the first Thursday and the third Thursday of every month, and the first Thursday being a COW meeting and the third Thursday being a board meeting. And then we could accommodate the one specific request by having COW and board 1 week apart in December.
Okay,
What do we think about that?
that sounds doable.
Thoughts, objections? We can change the time if we want to. We used to do board meetings at 7 p.m. so public could attend. I don't think public health has changed in any way that we will want to be putting all the mechanisms in place to allow the public to attend our board meetings for the next little while because of all the contract tracing, and sanitization, and distancing, and masks, and setup. It's just too much. Just a culture.
The 7 o'clock was chosen 4 years ago when we were not recording our meetings. So really, there is no reason to be meeting at night for the purpose of the public because we have been consistently posting. It was solely to make it possible because we were not up till 2016 recording the meetings. So I'm firmly opposed to evening meetings myself personally.
So that we're
I have a question. Is the administrator required to be at both of these meetings, the CAL and the regular board meeting?
that's preferred.
Yes.
So the administrator is at both meetings. The fire chief and the public works superintendent attend the board meeting.
Only.
Thanks.
I really appreciate that. Frankly, I found it odd that they weren't there, but I know there's past history, so I'm not going to go there. But yes, having your staff there answering administrative questions is just really important. I agree.
So proposal is to, if we're modifying the schedule, is to change all of the second Tuesdays to first Thursdays.
So moved.
Let's not move on the schedule as of yet. Let's just continue to put all of these dates in. So you're going to add in the first open and closed nominations, right?
Yeah.
But, so that will get added in, but I don't know if we have to vote on that. That'll just be based on the election dates. They just have to be inserted for reference. So if we were to do that, that would make the first COW meeting on
October 1st.
Thursday, October the 8th, right?
No, you said the 1st of the month?
That was-
Thursday, October 1st?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
And then the 15th is the board meeting.
yeah. So October 1st. My question then is to Trustee John, is to say, is that a suitable time for us to have the special meeting?
And I'm sorry, October 1st is which day?
A Thursday.
Yeah, it's fine, Dave.
So that we don't need that special meeting, we could just use that as a COW meeting topic.
And that's soon enough, I'm happy with that.
Now, I'm just noticing that Thursday,
Yeah.
October 15th, the virtual information session.
Oh.
So, that's during the day though.
When is the virtual information session?
That's-
7
that's-
p.m. on the 15th.
So,
But that's for, well, it's 15th.
well, could we not, we do not have to have a board meeting every month, you know?
The board meeting's not on the 15th anyways, it's on the 22nd.
No, it's on the 15th.
It's on the 22nd.
That's a virtual.
No, it's on the 15th.
Check the fifth line down.
Virtual information session.
Yeah, but that's incorrect. That was booked for the 22nd. That's not the third Thursday. That's the fourth Thursday.
Yeah, the third Thursday is the 15th.
I think it got bumped because,
So is that what you
Okay.
did? You automatically-
Okay, so let's leave that one on the fourth Thursday then.
Okay. we'll leave
Okay,
it
so
as
we're
that.
saying that, so that October 22nd is an exception.
I'm sorry, we're talking about first Thursday and third Thursday, right?
Right, and the third Thursday is the 15th,
Okay.
Which is already taken.
which is already taken, so we're,
Okay, but that's at 7 o'clock in the evening. The meeting is at 2:30 in the afternoon.
This is the virtual information session for the CVRD, for the conversions.
so, which we would probably want to attend.
Oh, we have to.
But that doesn't conflict with 2:30 Saturday.
Okay, you're right, it does not, so we can choose to do both on the
We can
weekend.
do both on the 15th.
No,
Or do we want to have a board meeting after those events so that we can discuss them?
I think I would.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I think, let's leave it with October 22nd. We can process what happened at the virtual session, right? So next cow would be November, the first November 5th.
Yeah, so it'd be the 5th.
Yeah, that's what I have on my calendar, November 5th. Oh,
And you want the Thursday, the board meeting in December to be on the 10th, correct? December 10th, not 17th, Susan?
sorry, I was just looking at all the dates. Yes, please, the board meeting for December 10th, and then the cow would be,
the 3rd.
that's only a week ahead. We're trying to give you 2 weeks, but if that's okay with you, Janet?
I'll suffer through it.
Oh,
So what was that, to the December 10th?
You can complain to me.
is the board meetings, December 10th, Thursday, and the cow will be December 3rd, just a week before. Yeah, thank you, thanks you guys.
Accommodating everybody.
Yeah.
So the regular is going to be November 19th, as per what it's stated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for the third.
Okay.
And November 5th will be the cow. Good.
We have to change January.
Well, we should have to change the calendar. Well, do you want to change the calendars?
Well, if you're in a pattern, the first and third, then just carry on.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
Set a pattern and follow
I'm
it.
good with that too, then Thursdays, it's always Thursdays, the chief, yeah, I'm good with that. Are you okay with that, you?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so we have set a schedule that says we will meet have a cow meeting on the first Thursday of every month, a board meeting on the third Thursday of every month, with the exception of October. The meeting will be on October 20, the board meeting will be on October 22nd, and in December, the board meeting will be on December 10th.
Correct.
Otherwise, all is as listed here, including the polls and the information sessions. So, can I have a motion to approve this schedule?
Motion to approve the schedule is just read by the chair. No.
Second. Seconded by Trustee Haroldson. All in favor? Done. Okay, so I think we're down to just the one last in-camera item, correct? So why don't we adjourn the public portion of this meeting, take a short
What about
break?
item F?
Item F, did I miss something? Oh,
They-
they are in there, they're a part of the schedule, right? So, but I guess we should move on that, and actually, thank you, because there's another piece of this too.
Thank you. Thank you.
But do we want to take a brief break? Okay. Shall we pause the video? Reconvening. So, the next item on this is just to make a motion to schedule the election poll, the referendum poll. Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. So that's the motion. The second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Move that the referendum is scheduled. There's a question not listed here that we need to consider at some point, and I think Janice probably can give us the best idea of timing on this, I think, right? Which is, what question is going to be on the referendum? And the ministry will want to say that the consultants at Urban System proposed the question. But, you know, it probably takes the form of debate. Is it a yes-no style of question? Do you support conversion of services to CBRD, yes or no? Or it could be an option A, option B type of question, where do you support option A, conversion to CBRD, or option B, remaining as an improvement district? So, you know, that's what's going to be before us. Before we do that, I would love to hear what we think timing is as to when that is required.
Now, I spoke to Peter Crawford, our election official, about that. He said, yes, no is what you want. The simpler the better, because he's seen where the question's complicated. And we need to get it on the ballots. We need to get the ballots printed before the advance poll on the 10th. So we've got a bit of time. But he said, oh, and Dan said this also, Union Bay is in charge of the question, how it's phrased, but it has to be run past the province.
And given that might take some time, we don't know that, it might be better that we propose a question sooner than later.
I don't know if you had a chance to read what Dan said here, but actually Catherine, who is the ministry person, the contact person for the government study, did give,
Has she responded?
yeah, looked, oh, I would look for feedback, okay, yeah, no, I misunderstood. He came up with a simple yes, no sentence.
And so Dan, in this email he sent an example of
Yes.
what happened with Sandwick, but there was no referendum. This was a motion to collapse.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't include it, because I thought it would be confusing. So this is a totally different question.
Not really.
It's not, sorry, it's not to collapse the district.
It is dissolved, it is actually the
Dissolving.
term, it is the term that's used. So it is actually the appropriate phraseology. But I agree, can we make a motion that we agree in principle with what Dan proposed, pending confirmation, yea or nay, from the ministry? Because that's exactly what he's set out to do. Or no, he said it's up to us.
We can move to vote on that question. And so do you want to put the motion on the floor and discuss it?
I move that we vote, I move that we accept the referendum question as proposed by Dan, pending approval by the ministry.
Okay, so that's the motion. Second?
It doesn't mean you have to agree with it, just so we can discuss it.
I second.
Okay, so discussion. I know Gary had said you wanted to say something.
Mr. Chairman, this is one of several points that I noted, and I guess it's a question more than anything. And perhaps it's a valid point for discussion at your September 24th meeting to discuss any concerns or fine-tuning of the draft report. Do we know conclusively that the ministry has taken a position on a particular question or approved this proposed question wording from Dan?
He included her in the email.
Okay.
We have not gotten approval. In fact, she was requested to provide that. The motion would be to say, whatever question you would seek the approval of the ministry. So I would modify the motion to say that not pending, but for approval by the ministry.
Because I think you'd want to get that nailed down.
Right.
What is the ministry's position on it, taking it that they would be suggesting, if not requiring, some sort of a referendum question? But I think you'd want to have that nailed down, because that's an important piece, obviously.
Absolutely. John?
And I'm sorry, I see some wording here under four on the last page. Are we talking about different wording or that wording?
That wording.
That wording.
And by the way, just for the public who are on here, let's read the question. Are you in favor of dissolving the Union Bay Improvement District and converting all services, assets, and liabilities to the Comox Valley Regional District as local services? That's the proposed question. Okay.
I just wonder if that would make people bristle, but you know what? I think more in favor of saying you recommend whoever person putting the question together to make it short and sweet and very concise, and then let them come back with what that looks like. I think the minister has a lot of experience with it, and give them a little bit of leeway. I don't know, but I think some of the questions that came up about who's going to own the assets was a point of concern for many people. And when you convert from an improvement district to a regional district, you do lose ownership of the assets. You do not lose ownership of the financial running of those assets. In other words, if something was wrong with the asset, you're responsible for making sure that it's working the way you want it to work. But the ownership goes to the regional district.
And my understanding is it's slightly more nuanced than that, is that it goes to the regional district in trust for the service areas. And so that in the event of a future change of status, like incorporation, those assets still belong to Union Bay.
I like that, Mr. Chair. That's a good...
That was clarified. That was clarified.
But frankly, that's not one of the things in here.
No, actually, I think it should be clarified.
And
we talked about
we did, that was exactly what we brought forward at the conversion.
it. I've got emails to that regard.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that's one question that has never been answered by the regional district ever, and that is the letters patent. If they come in and take over this area, I agree with what you said, Trustee Francis, but they've never answered the question, and they've hedged answering the question of the letters patent. Will those letters patent be returned to the Union Bay in the future regarding when they become a municipality, say 10, 15 years from now when the population warrants? As the population grows and becomes a municipality, either district or otherwise, do the letters patent come back to that municipality, or does the regional district keep the letters patent forever to wholesale water to a new municipality?
So the question was asked at the governance. So it was asked and answered at the governance study and working committee, and the specific question wasn't asked about the letters patent. It was asked about the water licenses, which is really the thing that's at the heart of this. I defer to Gary on letters patent, but my understanding would be is that if there was incorporation, there would be new letters patent for a municipality versus for an improvement district. But what we're talking about here is assets and liabilities and revenue streams and all those sorts of things. And it was very clearly articulated that assets and liabilities go into the service areas and would be returned. They remain with, and then we went further and said, speak of water licenses, is that considered an asset? And the answer was yes, that the water licenses would stay, they would be transferred to CBRD to be held in trust for Union Bay in the service areas and would be returned in the event of incorporation.
That was very clear.
I want that in writing.
I think that's and maybe we should make a motion for that, to say to ask for that.
We're gonna just tweak that a little bit, that maybe on the transfer documents, that they actually say that within the legal documents that are registered at land levels. No arguments, it's ours, and we want it back.
It'd be an interesting thing to ask, right? To say, to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trustee.
So, did you have something to add?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
What John had said was that it would be good to have it in a legal document transferring control of our assets to CBRD, that we get them back, right? Including the water licenses.
What I wanted to say was, I'm concerned about, I know this is probably not the topic we're on, but the public information portion, it consists of this virtual information session and a potential 150 people coming in through an open house type of situation. And that is the only communication of this agreement, besides putting this complicated document on the website, that we're going to do.
That is what has been planned so far. And well, beyond that, there's a newsletter.
That's one page thing that was also put out.
How many pages? 2 pages or 4 pages?
Yeah, it's at the back of the governance.
Is that going to go out to the landowners with their water bill?
Yes,
That 4-page summary?
yes.
It just like it is, or with some of these very important issues for some people clarified? Like assets returnable and not?
As it is.
As it is.
As it is, okay.
I recall that both the CBRD and urban system said in addition, there would be an regularly updated, frequently asked questions. And we already actually made a list of ones, common misconceptions, like how much administration is CBRD going to charge, 30%. So that and the point that we just spoke about, any kind of contentious issue will be listed on facts on both the UBID website as well as the CBRD website, as well as the questions come in through the virtual and the in-person, they will be updated and added. So it will be a running list, like a lot, it won't be live, but it will be a regularly updated, because that's what we want to hear, is what is the misunderstandings or confusions in the community and address them. So that's going to also be in addition to the
And
newsletter.
those will be on websites.
Yeah, they will.
I'm concerned that this is not nearly enough to help to convince people, but, or to either way, or to convince people the way I would like to go anyway. It's potentially 150 people live in 6 30-person sessions. Why haven't they made them 40-person? We can be 50 people, I think, or they need that many staff.
And it's the limitations of this room.
I would rather see 2 of those days than a virtual information session. I really would, but that's just one of my concerns. Because I know that there'll be probably a campaign against it with possible untruths said about money and assets. So I think the more people that we can actually officially tell that that's not true might be helpful.
Mr. Chair, I think there's been some good points raised, and I think that, my first impression of reading the document, admittedly, I wasn't involved extensively in the process, or hardly at all in the process, but my main issue would be that I think that there's some gaps, there's some financial information that needs to be further refined, and there's a bunch of questions that were asked in the report I think that need to be fleshed out. I think you have an excellent opportunity to bring those forward on September 24th, and that's an opportunity to ask those questions, ask them of the consultants, perhaps of the region, then before the virtual meeting, and maybe some of those can be addressed at the virtual meeting. And then I also concur with what I'm hearing the strategy is that through that virtual meeting in the open house, but before the finalization of the final report, hopefully some of those outstanding questions and further information items that are required can be addressed prior to the actual vote. And that, maybe a further one-page synopsis of some of the key financial issues. Status quo versus conversion. And there's a template in the guide, which I think is quite useful, which I think can be discussed at your meeting on the 24th. Because there are some pieces I think that are absent.
Are we meeting on the 24th?
We're not meeting on the 24th.
Or whatever they call it.
First,
Okay.
It's on the first, and it's not with the consultants, it's
No.
only us.
Just yourself.
Gary, can I ask that you document those questions for us for discussion?
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you. That
That'd
would
be
be what
great.
I was gonna ask.
Absolutely.
So, on this item of the letters patent, and we're sort of veering off from the point of discussion around a question. I'd like to suggest that I have a motion written out that I'll table for now, but I want to come back to it and say that for me, the motion's about me writing a letter to the ministry asking for the confirmation you suggested, right? It's in writing that these assets, including water licenses, will be returned to the event of incorporation.
Thank you.
Yeah, but let's table that. Let's stay on the referendum question. So we've read the question out, and I think the motion was made, was it not, to say let's submit that as the question for approval by the ministry.
Yeah.
And was that seconded? I can't recall if you seconded that motion.
I second it.
You did second it. So, and we're in discussion on it. Any further discussion on that question? John?
So if this is the question, I want to put it forward that we suggest we omit the words assets and liabilities, and so we say converting all services to the Comox Valley Regional District local service. I would like to hear what Gary has to say.
Mr. Chairman, my advice would be at this stage, I'm hearing general support for that question. My suggestion is that along the lines of Trustee Pelger, if you want to go do it at this point in time, indicate support in principle or conditional support for this particular question, subject to confirmation from the ministry that this meets the test that they would have for a referendum on a conversion study.
Okay. And so far we've had a thought to modify the question to remove the words assets and liabilities. So this would be the modified question. Are you in favor of dissolving the Union Bay Improvement District and converting all services to the Comox Valley Regional District as local services? My comment on this would be I would further simplify the question and try to keep it as short and simple as possible and say, are you in favor of converting all services, all the Union Bay Improvement District services to the Comox Valley Regional District as local service areas? That would be my suggestion on this, but I didn't make that as a motion really, but I think simpler is better. But again, my opinion on thoughts.
I would go in favor of what there's legal language here, and dissolve is actually in the language of, I think you have to make it clear that people understand what they are either saying yes or no to. The whole issue of assets and liabilities is key, and it's one that we need to drive home exactly the points that have been raised. So I think there's a reason that this draft form was presented to us, because that is sort of what has been acceptable, the norm. So I'm hesitant. I understand I agree with where you're going, Chair, in terms of really simple, but I want it to be legal, simple and legal. So I'm happy. I would not be in support of removing all those words.
Trustee Carlson. Ted.
Chairman, I agree with the statement the way it's written, assets and liabilities. It's rather important that is included. My feeling is, at the end, it's
add those words.
That's right, I'm saying leave it as it was written by Catherine.
It wasn't kept.
By Dan. John?
The question of assets and liabilities, what I worry about is as soon as people see that, the ones that have not done their homework are going to say no. The question of assets and liabilities belong in the study and explained at the 2 information sessions. That's when people are going to get a clear idea of it. If it's here, I know certain people, probably a lot of people, are giving up our assets in no freaking way, and that's the way they're answering. So that's sort of the reason, that is the reason why making it simpler, I think, makes it easier for people to understand. And you know, whatever the board decides is great, but it has to be reliable.
I support that position. As I said, I support simplifying it even further than that. So.
I still support the question that tells people exactly what is happening.
Okay.
It's up to us.
As written then?
As written, absolutely.
Okay. We have positions on the floor. Is there any further discussion of that? Does anybody want to try to convince something else that they need to change their mind?
Sure they can. I know what trustee France is thinking, but my feeling is clarity. And by putting it down there, they can sit back and think. And also, I do believe that the landowners have the ability to be able to sort this out with the most information they can get, and that includes this statement. I want to leave it that way because then they can say, okay, assets and liability. Doesn't mean I'm losing anything. It means, do I want this governing body to continue or do I want this other governing body to take over? What are the pros and the cons of each? And that's why I want to leave it the way it is.
Further discussion? Well, I think our opinions have been expressed, and we should vote on this motion. If on this question, if this motion is carried, then our discussion is over. If this motion is not carried, then we may need to have further discussion. So the motion is to approve the question to be placed on the referendum ballot, subject to approval by the Ministry of Municipal Housing and Affairs. And the question is as follows. Are you in favor of dissolving the Union Bay Improvement District and converting all services, assets, and liabilities to the Comox Valley Regional District as local service areas? Yes or no?
Point of order.
Point of order.
I think it's a point of order. Not putting your hand up is a vote in favor. That's
Yes.
the question.
That is
But
true.
generally,
It's
we
in our,
have to-
it's in
we have
our,
to vote.
it's in our bylaws.
That's correct.
Right, okay, thank you. Just to clarify.
Well,
That's
so-
usually standard practice, but it's one.
Well, no. I will call it all in favor, all against. And not putting your hand up is a vote in favor. That is true. Okay. All right, so that's the motion. It has been seconded, it's been discussed. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, carried.
Our first lost vote.
There'll be more. There'll be more.
Okay.
Who's going to be asking that question? Because, I mean, it doesn't hurt to say, asking Catherine, how important is it to have assets and liabilities in there? I mean,
So we have approved
it's not
this
a
question.
modification, it's to proceed as we just voted. However, we don't know that question, because Catherine hasn't responded yet, but can we, it's up to us for the question, can we not ask our administrator to ask that question?
We could propose that this, a second motion to say, please send the following questions along with the approval request. Right, we voted on this question, we have to send it in as is, right? But now, what questions do we want to add to it? So you're saying there were concerns by the board as to whether these words should be included. What is your opinion on it? Is that kind of what the question
Catherine is?
Catherine Lee is our connection into the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Well,
Governance.
that's good to know.
Mr. Chair, that's my understanding of the next step, is that there will be communication with Catherine, either from yourself or Janice, indicating, hey, the board has endorsed in principle at this stage this particular wording. Any comment, concerns, are you okay with it? And let her raise that, preferably before your meeting on October 1st, so we know.
And would the board want any other clarifying questions to go with that question? That's really,
Sure, ask if assets and liabilities is critical to the question, or can it be removed and still be legal?
I can. No?
Well, as a board, we just made a decision, and now we're asking somebody else to comment on it, and I think if you're happy with it, and most of us are, then go with it.
Move forward.
You know, this is all new to us, and so we're wanting it to be fair and clear. I'm not disagreeing with the points that you guys made. We have an opportunity to ask for a very collaborative relationship with the ministry. I think it's a fair question to add any other, you know, or does she have other advice for us?
Well,
I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I would think that, in communication with her, an email and then a follow-up call, hey, this is the wording, as you see here, that the board, a majority of the board, in principle, have approved. Do you have any concerns? Because there was some discussion at the meeting about some potential concern on the part of several members about including the words assets and liabilities in the question. Do you have any concerns about that? And see what she says.
would the board be fine with that approach for proposing the question? Like, either Janice or I will write this letter.
I wonder why we went through all this, if we're gonna do that. Go ahead.
I love the line too that says, yeah, even though I voted against this, that we voted.
Okay.
And it should go in and ask the ministry for their comments and any suggested amendments, and not to lead them in any direction that would be against what we just voted on.
Mr. Chair, Ian, I suggest we send it in the way it is. If there is a problem, I'm sure that they will notify us. They won't either agree or disagree.
Can we ask Gary to ask the question but not tell us the answer?
That's what it sounds like.
I just want to comment, she was included in this email,
Right.
and he did ask for her input on the potential referendum question. So she's already been asked that.
Well, but we have to
Correct.
submit the
So
question.
Yep.
she's aware.
Right. I will submit the question and ask her for her opinions on the question without leading her towards any specific language. Everybody okay with that?
No, I saw some wrinkled eyebrows. Not
Yours,
mine.
yours because of
No,
lots.
mine are fine.
So did I, so we're in this together. Okay. Now the other, the motion that I said let's table was another letter to the ministry, right? So the motion I wrote was for the chair to write a letter to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing asking for confirmation that all assets and liabilities of Union Bay Improvement District, including water licenses, will be returned to Union Bay in the event of incorporation.
Second. Oh.
So that's the motion.
I shall move.
Okay, seconded. Any discussion on that?
I think it's an incredibly important resolution, but I would offer an addition to it.
Okay.
That the ministry also gives assurances that we will be able to obtain MFA financing on any long-term debt related to our water treatment plant.
That sounds like a very different question.
Well, it's the same assurances that if we can get it, we're going to save a lot of money to the taxpayers. It's already discussed in the report that we made. Maybe we can get them to say, yeah, we'll commit to that.
So write a letter that asks two questions.
Yeah. I second that.
And so the question, the second question would be, say your second question again.
That the ministry gives assurances that the regional district will be able to obtain permanent financing on the water treatment plant debt should the referendum in favor, sorry, I've got to be careful of that, should the referendum
In the event of conversion.
In the event of conversion.
that could save us a bit of money.
Right now, it's about half.
Oh, that was the intention.
Yeah, well, a couple million, 0.5% adds up.
It does. It's substantial. Okay, so the motion is now for the chair to write a letter to the ministry asking A, for confirmation that all assets and liabilities of UBID, including water licenses, will be returned to Union Bay in the event of incorporation. And B, assurance that the regional district will be able to obtain municipal financing association, MFA, financing in the event of conversion.
Municipal Finance Authority.
Okay, so that is an amended motion.
It was seconded, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Done. Okay, so that is the public